So you now know why Africa should be on your radar, but let's zoom in on why Kenya should be your target destination. And here are some of the reasons. Kenya is the most stable democracy in East Africa. Kenya is the gateway to the East African market of almost 500 million consumers. Kenya is the regional logistics hub. Kenya is the leading finance hub. Kenya is the leading destination for foreign direct investment and venture capital. And Kenya has the Silicon Savannah with super smart engineers and a dedicated and entrepreneurial workforce. Kenya generates over 90% of its energy from renewable sources, and Kenya's largest export market is the United States of America. Let me repeat, Kenya's largest export market is the United States, and we feel that Kenya is ready for export liftoff as it diversifies. Gateway to East Africa. As I said, Kenya's population is 56 million people, but more importantly, it is the gateway to East Africa with a combined population of over 500 million. 80% of the East African regional trade passes through the port of Mombasa. In addition, Jomo Kenyatta International in Nairobi is the busiest airport in East Africa, served by 40 passenger airlines and 25 cargo carriers, including DHL and FedEx. And Kenya in recent years has built some amazing infrastructure. Nairobi's vibrant technology community is already known as the Silicon Savannah, and the Kenyan government is committed to establishing Nairobi as the premier destination for tech sector investment and innovation in Africa. Many U.S. companies have already figured this out, and they've decided that they need to be in Kenya, including the names that you see on the screen. Less known, but also hugely impactful tech companies like Copia Global, Semiconductor Technologies Limited, Twiga Foods, Market Force, Power Financial Wellness, and many electric vehicle startups are here too. And I have met these companies, I've visited their operations, and I see what is happening here. What is happening here is that you all have many of the critical components that make Silicon Savannah a reality. At the nexus of finance and technology sits one of the most impressive companies that I have ever seen, M-Pesa. M-Pesa mobile money was developed by Kenyan innovators in 2007, and by 2010, M-Pesa had become the largest mobile money network in the world. M-Pesa generates annual revenues of over $1.3 billion. $360 billion pass through the network every single year. And the platform has an open API with over 60,000 developers developing apps for M-Pesa. M-Pesa solved one of the biggest challenges in the mobile money market sector: mobile, secure, ubiquitous, and low-cost payments. Many of you may not know, M-Pesa has over 50 million customers in 7 countries on the continent and is involved in 70% of Kenyan transactions, and 59% of the GDP of Kenya flows through M-Pesa. So, I know a little bit about this kind of business because when I was at eBay, I bought PayPal and managed PayPal for almost 10 years. And M-Pesa alone is a remarkable achievement. But I think importantly what it does is it demonstrates the brilliant business minds at work here in Africa in devising African solutions to global problems.
The expertise, the enterprise, and the hard work of our people is our oil and our gold, and will remain so. Our leadership on energy space in terms of renewable energy, our journey towards zero carbon is unmatched and unequaled in Africa. In the area of digital transformation, Kenya is indeed a market leader in this, and I'm sure that people who are here, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Metas, and all that will attest that it is rare to find the level of expertise and talent that is found here. So again, I want to assure you that you are not here by mistake. As has been mentioned, we are now at accelerated phases of the negotiations for the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership between Kenya and the United States that we started in July. In the month of December, alongside the AU Africa, the Africa-US Summit, I had a face-to-face meeting with Ambassador Catherine Tai, the US Trade Representatives. And in the month of February, our teams held our first round of negotiations in Washington, D.C. And next month, we are going to host the second round of negotiations. It is our hope and desire that these negotiations will end successfully by December this year. Why is Kenya taking this unprecedented step of negotiating a strategic trade and investment partnership with the United States, even where there is a lot of suspicion in other quarters? We are doing this for several reasons. In trade negotiations, some countries go into negotiations because they belong to some geographic location, because we are from East Africa, or we are from COMESA region, or we are from Africa. Others negotiate for market access because they are from a certain economic class. For example, there are some countries who continue to enjoy market access in some of your markets simply because they are least developed countries, something I always call celebrating poverty. But Kenya is going to these negotiations for different reasons. We are not negotiating with the United States as a favor to the United States. And this is not a United States initiative. It is a joint initiative because we are negotiating on the basis of shared values. The values we share on diversity, the values we share on climate change and sustainability, the values we share on gender issues, the values we share on digital trade, and all other topics that are concerned, including intellectual property rights. These are values that are shared by the Kenyan government and the US government, and that's why we find that right poles must get together in this situation. Kenya is not just Kenya, and Kenya is not just one country. Kenya is a gateway to the African market. 1.3 billion people, 2.5 billion people by the year 2025. Currently, Africa has a combined GDP of 3.1 trillion. But away from Africa, Kenya, we start from the East African community, a market of 250 million people, going all the way to COMESA with 400 million people, and now as we accelerate towards African Continental Free Trade Area. So, as you come to Africa, there is one port of call, and that port of call in Kenya. Indeed, even for you, I want to say this. In the coming years, there are only going to be two categories of businesses in the world. The first category are businesses that are going to be growing, and those are the businesses that are going to be in Africa. And the second category are businesses that are going to be extinct. So it's up to you to choose which category you want to belong to. And as you make that decision, you must always put in mind that indeed the place to be is in this great country called Kenya. We have many opportunities in renewables, in digital transformation, in manufacturing, in the area of healthcare, where other than some of the big names that we are trying to attract to manufacture here in Kenya, we are also working on an initiative with our pharmaceutical manufacturers to set up the first ever advanced pharmaceutical ingredient factory right here in Kenya to serve the rest of sub-Saharan Africa. And we welcome the pharmaceutical companies that are here to join us in this endeavor. It is not enough just to manufacture here and bring the APIs from out there. Going forward, we want even the APIs to come from here so that we can be able to forge partnerships. We are offering incentives on the export, in our export processing zones, in our special economic zones, in our county aggregation and industrial parks. We are working on a commodity exchange, which, as I told my esteemed colleague Don yesterday, that the commodities exchange that we are coming up with is going to be accessible to even small shops in New York who are going to have the opportunity to order direct from SMEs from rural Kenya, and so that you can be able to have all-inclusive growth and to have export-led growth. Let me finish by saying this, that Kenya is open for business and we are here to help you and to assist you. The Kenya Investment Authority, which is under my ministry, is inviting all of you to work with us. We want to be there for you. Many are companies which have come here and they move from one office to the other office. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes they get frustrated. We are telling you now that through the Kenya Investment Authority, which has got actually a desk out there with which you can register, we take over all the burdens of your hassles and all your troubles, so that you can be able to have a one-stop to solve all your problems and to make it easier for you to invest in Kenya.